Everyone, my name is Ian, and my wife and I have had our RPod 178 to 2017 model. We've had it for about 2.5 years, and we're actually trading it in for a new Lance trailer. But I wanted to do a quick review of the RPod after living with it for 2.5 years to give you guys a sense of what we like, what we don't like, and why we decided to upgrade. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why we chose the RPod. So our trailer previous to the RPod was a folding A-frame trailer. It was actually the Forest River copy of the A-liners that you've seen for many years. It was a great little trailer, folded down compact, but it didn't have a bathroom inside. It was real small and just more of a camping unit for quick getaways. But if you're going to spend time in a trailer, it wasn't big enough. So we have a pretty tight driveway and road situation up here in the mountains, so we wanted a small trailer, something not too heavy. At the time I purchased this, I had a Chevy Colorado with a V6, so I didn't want to get something too big and heavy. And the RPod was an excellent match for the Colorado. So the RPod is about 20 feet when you factor in the hitch, and it's a 17-foot box. One of the things that I definitely think is a big compromise on the RPod is that while the shape of it looks really cool, kind of the teardrop shape, that shape really compromises your interior space, which we'll get to in a minute. But by not having a boxy shape, you really compromise your interior storage and headroom and the ability for them to package things like a restroom and things like that. So some things I like about it looking at it from here is that the ground clearance is pretty decent. So if you're on the West Coast, you get what they call the Hood River Edition, which is, it has an axle lift and it has 15-inch tires. The tires that it comes with are really poor tires. There are some Chinese brand, not to say that Chinese products are bad, but these particular tires are poor and they don't hold air, in my experience. So if I was keeping the trailer, I'd change them out to a Goodyear Endurance or one of those. So let's talk about another thing that was good about it, especially if you have a smaller vehicle. So the RPod, let's look at it from the back. The RPod is a narrow trailer. It's only the box itself is about just a little over 6 feet wide, I think 6.5 feet wide. And what it does is it's not as wide for towing, so you're not pushing as much air down the road. You get a little bit better fuel mileage. The downside is that you lose that interior space with a narrower body. The other thing that I don't think is a great idea with the RPod is that you see how the wheel wells stick outside the trailer. So in reality, when you're towing down the road, you're still dealing with 8 foot wide because your tires are 8 foot wide. But you lose the advantage of having a wider box. So I'm really not convinced that this is a good design unless you really want the smaller width. If you have a Tacoma or a Colorado or an SUV, the narrower body is great because you can see, with your regular mirrors, you can see around the trailer pretty well, where you wouldn't be able to do that with an 8-foot trailer. Okay, so I've got the slide out now, and you can see it's a small slide. It's maybe around a foot or so that it slides out, but it really opens up the interior. So it's nice to have a slide on a real small trailer like this, and it's essential. They make 1 or 2 models without the slide, but I really don't know why anyone would purchase those. They're very cramped inside. So I'm not going to do the typical RV video where I tell you what all the connections are. I mean, everyone knows that stuff. That's boring. So let's go inside and talk about some of the ups and downs of the interior of the RPod. All right, so I'm actually sitting on the bed. So in the 178, you get a rear queen bed that's fixed. So here's the mattress here. The mattress is terrible, and it's really not usable for most people unless you have no standards of comfort. But again, this is a $17,000 trailer. It's a very economical unit, so they have to give you some compromises to get down to that price. So so the things I like about the trailer, it gives you a decent package in a small size. The quality is not too bad. Again, it's a fairly cheap trailer, but we haven't had any real major issues with the construction. You know, things like this are cheap. The blinds kind of fall down. The windows are single pane, so you don't have much insulation. The fridge is kind of too small for any extended trip, and it's kind of a cheap fridge. The quality of things is just, it's a travel trailer. It's not a premium unit. Some things that I do like is that they, on these newer models, they give you the flush sink, so you have decent counter space. You've got the typical plastic, you know, RV faucet, which is junk, which you really should change out, I would say. So getting into things, some of the reasons why we're trading it in is that when you look around this unit, what you're noticing is that there's a complete lack of interior storage. There's no wardrobe, there's no closet, there's only this one cabinet. There's a couple drawers here, and there's a little bit of storage under the sink, but your piping is in the way. So not having any interior storage means that when you're camping and when you're on a 1 or 2 week trip, where are you putting your clothes? Where are you putting your groceries? Where are you putting your, you know, hiking gear? And it just, you've got stuff flying around the trailer everywhere, and it's kind of a mess. I wish I had some videos of when we were camped, and I'm kind of OCD, so I don't like all the crap flying around and sitting loose in the trailer. It just doesn't, it needs to have storage. And some of the other RPod floor plans do have better storage. Okay, so another reason we're trading in is that most of the RPod models have a wet bath, which means that your toilet and shower are in the same little tiny area. Now, we took out the interior sink. You can see where I patched the walls. The interior sink was not only useless, but it took your space away from showering. So we took that out, and that helped. We also replaced the shower head with an Oxygenics unit, and we put this little thing to hold your soap. So the shower and bathroom is really too small. I mean, if you've showered in the past few hours and then you need to use the restroom, you're going to be putting your feet in water and soap. So that's not really that pleasant. And then getting up in the middle of the night, it's just not the easiest thing to use. All right, you're looking at the air conditioner. The air conditioner is very powerful on the RPod, but the problem is, and you can read this on the forums, is that it's incredibly loud. It's like listening to a jet kind of taking off in your trailer. So I don't mind that too much. I can sleep with the white noise, but a lot of people have a real problem. It's just extremely loud. So if you're camping somewhere where it's hot and you have shore power and you're running the AC, just be prepared. It's extremely loud. The TV is too small. It's like a 19-inch TV. It does have a DVD player, but no Blu-ray. It's a bit small. You can tilt it out and see it from the bed, which at least they give you that. So that's a good thing. The other thing I would say that I really don't like is that the furnace, you can kind of see it here, is under the bed. And what that means is that your heat just kind of blows out under the bed, and you lose that storage space because you don't want to jam that full of stuff, because then your heat will be blocked and you have a fire hazard. But also the heat doesn't distribute in a trailer very well, and being kind of a cheaper construction, you don't have much insulation. They do use Asdel in the RPod, which is good. That's much better than a lot of the cheaper trailers, but the trailer it doesn't have the insulation value of some of the higher end units. So I put the slide out room in to show you another good thing about it, is that on this particular floor plan, the 178, when you have the slide out in and you're traveling and you're at a gas station or a rest stop or a pull out, and you want to, just use the restroom real quick or grab something from the fridge, you can do that, and you can walk through the hallway. So you don't have to put the slide out just to access your trailer, which is a great thing. Some trailers are very hard to get into when you put the slide room in. I want to talk about towing for a second. So all the RPods, because of their lightweight design, are a single axle trailer. Now you can go and weigh the pros and cons of single versus double axle, but let me break it down for you. The advantage of a single axle is you're keeping your trailer light, and it can turn very sharp. So when you want to make a very sharp maneuver backing in, you can do that a little bit easier because you don't have tires fighting each other. That's about the only advantages. The disadvantages are pretty long. So The main disadvantage for me is towing stability and sort of ride comfort or ride control. So think about how a trailer goes over a bump or through a pothole. When you hit a bump and you only have one tire, the force of that bump or that pothole all of it has to be transmitted at one time into the trailer. So you get a really bouncy ride. Things will fall off the walls. Things will shake around much more in a single axle trailer versus a dual axle. The other, I would say, issue with single axle is that it doesn't tow totally straight and steady, especially in high winds or things. So even though we have an F-150 with a 12,000 pound towing capacity, because I have the right gearing and the right packages, we still use a weight distribution hitch to control sway, because especially when I had my Colorado, I had one incident where I almost had an accident because of the trailer sway on this thing, going over some bumps, and we had the water tank full, and the trailer went into an almost uncontrollable sway. I had to let off the gas and slowly slow down, but the trailer it was one of the scariest things I've ever experienced on the highway. So I don't really love the single axle design. I think it's a compromise to get you a small trailer and a lightweight. There's not many 20-foot trailers that have a dual axle, but I'll talk about that in a second. I want to briefly talk about another thing that I really think was a major mistake, at least on this model, is that they put the fresh water tank in the very back of the trailer. So if you see this white tank there, that's the fresh water. So guess what? When you fill your fresh water, I think it's 30 gallons plus 6 more in the water heater, you've got 300 pounds of weight or so that you're putting behind the rear axle. Now, if you know anything about trailering dynamics, when you put weight behind the rear axle, it makes the trailer want to wag and sway, and it's very unstable, and it takes weight off your hitch. So I really, for the life of me, can't figure out how they think that it's safe or even at all reasonable to put a fresh water tank behind the rear axle, because when you set off for a trip, you're not going to have, yes, the black and gray tanks are in front or in the middle, but those are going to be empty when you start a trip, and your freshwater tank's going to be full unless you don't want to have any water. So how is that a good design? They needed to flip these tanks, and I can't believe how that was an oversight for them, because it creates a very dangerous weight distribution situation. And you can go online and find pictures of RPods flipped over and things like that. Now, yes, any trailer can have an accident and people do stupid things, but this just makes it a little bit worse, and I don't understand why they did that. And it's one of the major drawbacks, at least of the 178. I'm not sure if all the other RPods have the same problem. So let's wrap this review up. A lot of the stuff I said, I think it might make it sound like I hate the RPod, and that's not true at all. The RPod is a great little trailer if you're sensitive to weight, if you're sensitive to cost. The width of it's narrow, it's easy to use, it's beginner friendly. So if it's your first or second trailer and you don't want to tow a giant unit around, you want to be able to fit into smaller campgrounds, which is a great idea, then this will be a great unit for you. And it's served us well for 2.5 years that we've had it. We've probably spent, I would say, 80 or 90 nights in it overall. We've camped a lot, and I've done even trips by myself with a motorcycle. We've gone all over the Rockies and the West Coast, and we've towed it around, and it's been a great trailer for us. But after 2 years of having it and kind of realizing all the upgrades we'd like to make, one other thing is that it doesn't have an awning. The new ones do. They're real small, but again, because of the shape, it's very hard to mount an awning to it. Anyway, it's not that I don't like the RPod. I do like the RPod. It's a good unit, especially for the price. It's one of the better trailers you can get for that price range. If you're shopping for the RPod, you should also look at the Forest River geo-pro and the No Boundaries. Those are newer units that weren't available when we bought this. They've fixed some of the drawbacks of the RPod. But if you really like the style of the RPod and things, then you're going to be happy with it. And they made a lot of good upgrades to the 2018, 2019 models. This is a 17.5 model year, by the way. So this is actually our last day with the trailer. We're taking it in, and it's being traded in on a new Lance 1685 model, which is still a 20-foot trailer, but it's addressed almost all the issues that I have with this. It's a dual axle. It has a full regular bathroom. It's got tons of storage. It's got a nice power awning. It's a 4-season trailer, so all the tanks are heated and enclosed. You can camp down to 0 degrees. Lance is a high-end unit. It's a premium unit, not quite to the level of Airstream, but almost. And so we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger and get ourselves a really high-end unit. But the RPod's been a great trailer, and we'll miss it. So I hope this review is helpful for you guys out there shopping. I will do a review of the Lance once we're going on a 2-week trip starting this weekend for about 13 nights in it. So we'll give you a review of the new Lance when I'm done with that. And anyway, happy camping, happy trails, be safe out there.